Hi everyone, here's my video as promised on the internal transport system that basically is going to run over quickly the concepts that you were teaching yourselves last week. So why do we have an internal transport system? Well, we need to move things around our body to all the different cells in the different places. All the cells need nutrients, so they need glucose brought to them and oxygen brought to them, and they also need their waste products taken away, so carbon dioxide and other things gets removed from the cells so they basically don't poison themselves. It's made of three main parts. There's the pump, the heart, there's some tubes or pipes which are the blood vessels, and then there's the stuff that moves around in those pipes, which is the blood. So I'll go through those one by one. I have my whiteboard to show you some things. So first of all, the pump, the heart, it's got two completely separate systems. See if I can draw this live action sideways. You can divide it into four chambers like this. And so looking at it this way, this will be the right side of the heart. And this will be the left side of the heart, because we always draw hearts as if you're looking at the person. So this is my right side and my left side, not the way that you would say that that is the right as you look at it, but what is in the person. So basically what happens is blood comes into one of the top chambers. The two top chambers are called atriums. So there's the right atrium and the left atrium, and the two bottom chambers are called ventricles. So there's a right ventricle and a left ventricle. Blood coming into the right side of the heart has come back from the body and is now going to be sent off to the lungs. So it's coming back from the body where the oxygen's been taken out of it, or the nutrients and glucose. It goes into the top chamber, and then a little valve in here lets it collect in there. And then when it's ready, the valve opens and the blood squirts through. There's a bit of squeeze from the muscles in the top chamber, squirts it into the bottom ventricle, and then that valve closes, and then another valve in this chamber opens, and that will send the blood off to the lungs. So the right side of the heart is completely separate from the left side of the heart, and it's all about getting the blood back from the body and sending it to the lungs so it can get re-oxygenated. Then when it's gone to the lungs, it's going to come back and go into the left side, the top of the left side of the heart, with all that lovely oxygenated blood, into the top chamber, the atrium, and then the valve will open and it'll be squished through into the bottom chamber, the valve will close again, and then this blood is then sent off to the body. So the left-hand side of the heart, particularly the left ventricle, has lots and lots and lots of muscle. The whole heart is a muscle that beats with electrical impulses, but this chamber is really big and strong because it's got to get blood all around your body, right up to the top of your head, end of your fingers, down to your toes, all through those organs in your intestines and things like that, so everywhere. It's very strong and powerful. But these systems are completely separate, so we don't have any mixing of the blood that's deoxygenated with the blood that is oxygenated. So it's a bit like a infinity symbol with the heart in the middle here. So you've got the right side of the heart pushes the blood out to the lungs where they get all the oxygen and get rid of the carbon dioxide, comes back to the heart, and the other side pumps it off to the body to deliver all the goods. So we've got what we call a pulmonary system, that just means lungs, and a systemic system that means all the rest of the systems. I'm just going to rub that off, and while I do, I will tell you about what your pulses mean and your heart sounds and your blood pressure, which we were going to do in class. We were going to use some stethoscopes and listen to your heart sounds and things, but we can't do that at the moment. So when you feel your pulse, like in your wrist, or sometimes people feel it in their neck, it's basically every time that left side of your heart is pumping, it's pushing more blood through your body. Push, push, push that fluid all the way through. And so each time you feel that, that is basically a push from your left ventricle. Your heart sounds, which sort of go lub dub, lub dub, blub blub, like that, they are the valves closing. So the first one is the top valve, and the second one is the second valve closing. And then your blood pressure, if you've ever been to the doctor and they've given you two numbers, like 120/80, the top number is how much pressure in your blood vessels that your heart is creating when it pumps. And then the bottom number, which is lower, is like the resting pressure. So when it's not just pumped, what the resting pressure in your blood vessels is. Okay, that's basically your heart. So the blood vessels, we start off with our heart. We'll draw our heart again. Okay, arteries are vessels that take blood away from the heart, and they are thicker walled and stronger because they've got to deal with much more pressure from the heart. So out of this left ventricle here, actually the blood vessel comes out the back, the top of it, I'll just draw it over here, is the aorta. And it is a massive, strong blood vessel. And it's going to send blood right up to your brain, and also other branches will send stuff off to all the parts of your body. It starts off as a big blood vessel, but then as you go through your body, it gets smaller and smaller. So arteries become arterioles, which are a bit smaller, and then eventually they become smaller and smaller until they're capillaries. And capillaries are little hair-like size structures, and they need to be small because our cells are small. And so cells are like surrounded by networks of capillaries, delivering all the goods and taking away the waste. And then once it's gone through the capillaries, and it's coming back towards the heart again, then they become what we call venules, so little tiny veins, and then bigger veins, and then all those veins with their deoxygenated blood will come back, and you get two different big blood vessels coming into this chamber over here. You get the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava, one which comes from the inferior, the bottom part of the body, and one that comes from the superior, the upper part of the body. And then this is blue because it's deoxygenated, all the oxygen's come out of it, and then of course it's going to go off to the lungs. Generally speaking, arteries are always the ones that are leaving the heart, and the veins are the ones coming back, and arteries would usually be carrying oxygenated blood. The only exception is these ones that go off to the lungs. They are leaving the heart, so they're called an artery, a pulmonary artery, but they have deoxygenated blood because it's all been taken away from the cells, and then the pulmonary vein coming back again has oxygenated blood. Some blood vessels have valves, particularly ones in our legs, because it's quite hard to get that blood back up to the heart again, and the valves just stop it sort of sinking into your feet and flowing back down. That keeps it like it gets pumped up from the push from the heart, and then a valve stops it disappearing and then pushed up again like that. Okay, the last little bit is your blood. So what is the things that we're really interested in the blood carrying is glucose, which gets collected from our nutrition system, from all the blood vessels that go through your intestines when the nutrients are being absorbed. That's just in the fluid. We also have three types of cells. We have red blood cells. Red blood cells have stuff in them called hemoglobin. And hemoglobin carries oxygen and carbon dioxide. So when they go to the lungs, when this passes through the lungs, it gets rid of any carbon dioxide from the cells that we don't want, and it picks up oxygen. So the oxygen is in here in your red blood cells and is taken to all your cells, and then when the blood's flowing past your cells, there's a thing called diffusion where the oxygen will flow into the cell and the carbon dioxide will flow out of the cell back into the blood, back to the lungs again. And then we have white blood cells. So we've got the red blood cells and we've got the white blood cells. White blood cells are the things that help us fight infection. Oh, I'm nodding sideways, that's terrible. Fight infection. And there's different kinds of them. And then we finally have our platelets. And platelets are little tiny cells that, if you cut yourself, they help stop you bleed. So you'll get the sort of clotting and something covering up the cut so you don't lose all your blood. And that essentially is it. There are a few more details which are in the PowerPoint and in your booklet if you happen to have it, or there's the digital version online. Anyway, I hope that helps a bit. A very quick rundown. If you are thinking of doing that system rather than nutrition system, just feel free to ask me any questions, email anytime. I hope you're doing all right out there, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon. Bye bye.